All right, how you guys doing today? But hop into the review of First John chapter 4. This is part 3, I believe. The first things first, make sure you like that video, hit a like, it's full screen, scroll just a little bit, like the video, full screen to back up. You feel me? So what we are at verse 7. Beloved, let us love one another, for love is of God, and everyone that loves is born of God and knows God. And there's a lot to unpack within this one verse. And he mentioned in Bible college when he was taking Tuesday and Thursday class, Pastor Paul, that they spent, well, Tuesday and Thursday for an entire semester or year, I don't remember what she said, on just the stuff of John. So the gospel, revelations, and then actually, I think just the epistles. I think just all three. And they had a song that would remind them of verse 7 and 8 here, because there's a lot to unpack just from this one word. The first word of these two verses, beloved, right? Beloved, we are loved of God already. Everyone is loved of God already, right? God is love. That is his nature. It is not possible for him to not love at all points in time, because that's what he is, and he's ever existing and all around, omnipresent, omnipotent, everything. And then you get beloved, let us love one another, which denotes who this verse is speaking to. It's speaking to us as Christians. The people who are loved, let us love one another. And that's not saying keep that love within the circle of one another, but it's saying let us love one another as everybody, not just Christians, but especially other Christians. Because what kingdom divided against itself shall stand. That is probably my favorite quote from Jesus, to be honest. And if we can't love one another, how can we love the world? Jesus said, don't even the sinners and tax collectors love those who love them. So how crazy do we look if we don't love other Christians? The ones who were supposed to love us were not loving, but even the tax collectors love those who love them, and the sinners love those who love them. And we are sinners too. Let's not forget, right? For this love is of God. For love is of God, right? That is his nature. He is that. And it was crazy as he was talking about how humans can be loving, and we can't say that God is loving, because to be loving, you have to put away other feelings, such as feelings of hate, to express that love. Like, oh, he's a loving person, meaning he denotes love more than not, right? He is loving. But to do love, you have to suppress hate. God can't do that, because he is not hate, he is fully love. Which means you can't say he's loving or somebody that loves often, because that would imply that he doesn't love all the time. And if he loves all the time, what is he? He is just love. That's just what he is, because that's all he does, right? And there's a discrepancy between discipline and wrath, right? Things that we have to suffer on account of God due to the love that he has to bring about better change in us, which is discipline, versus the things he has to do as punishment, which is wrath. And discipline, to me, is an example of wrath. It is an example of the wrath to come, and an example of why you should not continue on the path you are on, for this consequence is smaller, but still representative of the consequence that would come if continued. And that consequence that is greater than the discipline would be the wrath, right? People say physical discipline is bad, but also, let's take it back to a biblical example. Would you rather get hit one time by your parents, hit 3 times by your parents, or get hit, 39 times because they left one room just in case, because the law said not to whip somebody 40 times? So rather get whipped 1 time now, or 40 times later because you did the same thing and kept making that mistake. And then guess what? Somebody greater than me has a punishment greater for you for the same action, right? So love is of God, which also means, as he continues, everyone that loves is born of God and knows God. But that there's a special distinction again that we have to make, that there is different kinds of love. There's the love that comes from God, right? For love is of God, and everyone that loves is born of God and knows God. So there's the love that comes from God, which is that agape love, which is unconditional, loving with no thought of self, but fully for the other person, which Pastor Paul noted that humans can only express in certain circumstances. Because you have to really think, what's an example where you would say, let me fully think of somebody else and not yourself? And you could probably think of maybe one example. However, there's probably still some part of you that's loving yourself more than them in a moment within that example that you thought of, because you really can't just, it's really hard for us to conjure up something where it's like, I fully think of you. It's more in the moment thing, which is why in the Bible it says that the greatest thing that a husband can do is die for his wife, right? Or the greatest act of love is dying for somebody else, because you're putting all that you are and have in this thing called life, your life, you're putting that before, or my bad, after somebody else's, right? And that's exactly what Jesus did, which is why love is of God, because that's the greatest act he could do. He did that himself, and that's who he is, which it makes it make sense. And everyone that loves is born of God, but the distinction there is there's different kinds of love, right? There's the agape love, which is from God, which is putting others before yourself, and that comes at different points in time, right? There's the fully putting others before yourself, and that's how we get something like Jesus dying on the cross, or people dying for other people, fully putting somebody else before yourself. And then there's putting others before yourself and just being like a respectful, considerate, and, nice person by societal standards, because we couldn't be perfect according to God's standards, but just being a nice, respectful person and being considerate, right? And that's the love that also comes from God, is when you're putting others before yourself in different ways that most people would not, and being happy about it, and not counting the cost in your head of, oh, well, I'm doing it to get this in return, or I'm doing this to get that in return, but just giving and not thinking of getting. Right, and that's an important thing to note with the holiday season coming up, right? They say it's about giving and not getting, and while that's true, but if everyone gives, everyone's gonna get, essentially, as long as everyone gives to everyone and not just to one person, But then there's the love of the world, which Pastor Paul denotes that everyone is made in the image of God. Not everyone is born of God, as John chapter 1 verse 12 will tell us, that Jesus dying on the cross and accepting that through faith and everything, everyone then has the right to become a child of God, right? The right to become a child of God, because they are not already one. They are just an image bearer. And because they bear the image of God, it's also not only a physical thing, but also a spiritual thing. Like, we have a conscience inside of us to tell us right from wrong, just like the Holy Spirit is a greater notion of that. Just like with love, right? We accept God and we get this higher form of love where we can be happy doing other things and serving other people in different ways. And then the people of the world instead, because they are still in the image of God, they still can have this love for other people. It's just going to come from a different place, and it's going to come with different emotions attached, and it's going to come with different costs to whoever or whatever they are loving, right? If you love sin, the cost is death. The wages of sin are death. There's a price to pay for that sin which you love. When we join Jesus, when we become an heir to the throne, we are dead to sin. We do not love it anymore. We cut it off. Therefore, we do not have to pay the price of the death, because we don't love it. Therefore, we don't do it as the world does it with love and have to reap the consequences, which is death. And when the world loves, it's more of a selfish love. It's more of, you do it to get something out of it. They can still do that thing, right? He gave the example of unbelieving parents, right? Your parents loved you even though they're unbelieving, because they can still show love. It's just a different kind of love. It's missing a little something. It's missing the joy that love comes with. It might have happiness, but the happiness is not joy. Those words are two different things according to the Bible, right? Joy comes from God. Happiness can come from anything. So, them being image bearers, they still have the opportunity to love. It's just a different form of love, which is how we know that not everything that does love and everyone that loves knows God. And this isn't the knows as in they know of God, right? This is the knows of they have experienced, which is, it has to go into the Greek word of knowing, not the English word of knowing, because even then we got knowing in different contexts. But this is the knowing of, you know, and you have experienced God. And that's the love that is shown that makes somebody born of God. And he that loves not knows not God, for God is love, verse 8 says, right? God is love. And if you love not, you know not God. Because once you know God, it's impossible not to love, seeing how he gave everything to you. How could you not want to then give everything to everyone else? How could you not want to serve your neighbor? right? It said if you hate your brother in your heart, it's basically like the same thing as murder. Yet, once you join Jesus, it's like you lose the ability to hate and not forgive because you were forgiven for so much. How could you not forgive everyone else? If God loved you so much, how could you not love everyone else? It literally does not make sense, for God is love, and you now have God living inside you, which means you are in part that love. You have that love living inside you, which is when we're called to be a lamp to the world and let that light shine through. We let the world know what we have experienced, which is that knowing of God, through the love that we share, because they can't understand it. It's different. It's on a different level of what love truly is. It's thinking of others before yourself to a higher extent than most people would. And you don't know it until you, one, experience it, or two, you see it. Because when you see it, it usually makes you think, I couldn't have done that. And that's that concept of grace. God given the grace of let other people do things that they otherwise would not have done. That's that grace, which is a gift, which is denoting more of God's love to us, right? So you see it and you think, I couldn't do that. That's because it comes from that love, that grace. And then if you experience that, which is accepting Jesus on the cross, you start getting that grace because that love starts to live inside you. And once it lives inside you, you get convicted if you don't let it out. So you let it out. And then grace abounds more grace. And it's a perpetual cycle. And more love spreads through the world and equips us with a testimony, which is a testament to that love which we know because of the God who we experience. And that's how we are to act. That's how we are to love, according to the Bible and John. All right, that's going to be the end of the video. Hope you guys have yourself a fantastic rest of your day. Peace.